Welcome, everybody. We are thrilled to have you here. We're expecting quite a few more people to join us, and I think it shows that this is a topic that is really of interest to everyone. Welcome to the Woman to Woman 20th reunion. Again, this is our Zoom virtual reunion. We look forward to the time that we can be together and we can be live, but it is wonderful to see all your faces on this Saturday morning. As a reminder, I'm Rachel Justice, and you'll be hearing from Jillian later, but she and I are co-leaders of Woman to Woman. For those of you who are newer to our community, Woman to Woman is a gynecologic cancer support program. We support women however we possibly can through one-to-one mentoring with our wonderful survivor volunteers, through educational programs such as this program that we're about to embark on together this morning. We have an extremely robust calendar of support activities. We have so much exciting stuff coming up in April, and we hope you'll join for some of those. We have a really incredible financial assistance program where we can assist with everything from rent and medical co-pays, and transportation. We have a mental health program. We really, again, want to fill whatever unmet need there might be for women who are going through the gynecologic cancer experience. So we are here for you. Reach out to us. We want to be there as you go through the ups and downs of this journey at whatever stage you're in, whether you're newly diagnosed or you've been a decades-long survivor. There is a place for you in our program. So we will now be turning over to one of our amazing survivor volunteers, Sandra Wang, who's going to tell us a little bit about what we'll be doing today. And in the meantime, we're going to mute everyone except for our speakers. So bear with me while I mute all, and then if the speakers could unmute yourselves as you're ready to speak, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Sandra Wang. Welcome to the Woman to Woman 20th reunion. I'm a survivor and a Woman to Woman volunteer. I'm so glad that you're all here. There are many of you. Very nice to see you all. Thank you all for coming, and hope you enjoy a great morning with us. I'm just going to go through a bit of what we're going to talk about today. So today's topic is all about herbs, and we'll feature a presentation by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer's Integrative Medicine Specialist, Dr. Shelly Latte-Naor. She'll give us an overview comprehension of herbs and their healing properties and how they can be used to promote health and wellness. And then we'll also learn from the gardening experts from La Finca del Sur, South Bronx Farmers, Nancy Ortiz-Soren and Stacy Alice, about the value and cultural importance of herbs gardening. And then after the presentations, we'll have a little time for Q&A, and will be moderated by our own Woman to Woman social worker and program manager, Jillian. And after the Q&A, we're going to participate in a live planting experience led by our gardening experts and using the kits that you received. So if you have them, please have it ready, handy. So that's about today's rundown of what we're going to do. And we're very thrilled to have Dr. Latte-Naor with us today to share her wealth of knowledge. Let's welcome Dr. Latte-Naor.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. All right. Good morning, everyone. So nice to be with you this morning. Much of my practice consists of women with gynecological cancer and breast cancer. And so it's just a group of people that are very close to my heart, and the issues that arise are close to my heart. So this is going to be a brief presentation. Obviously, I can't, in a brief presentation, advise you how to use herbs and supplements for the benefit of your health, right? This would be like a doctor saying, I'll teach you in 20 minutes how to use medications and, for the benefit of your health. That would be very, very difficult, if not impossible. But what I hope to do is give you a framework of how to think about the use of supplementation in and outside of the cancer setting. By background, by the way, I'm an internist, and I've been doing integrative medicine. I'm trained in integrative medicine. I've been doing that for a while now, I think 6-7 years at MSK exclusively. And in that context, I also received lots of training in herbs and supplements and what we call phytomedicine or botanical medicine. I've no disclosures. And over the next few minutes, I'm hoping to just put a context around what we call integrative, holistic, alternative medicine, just so you really understand the context. This is one of the most common questions we get. What is integrative medicine? In which context do you deliver information and advice about the use of natural products? And then we're going to talk about a little bit the framework and what we know from the science, from observational science, how natural products are being used in the cancer community. And then we're going to look a little bit about how to read supplement labels. All right, so the first thing that I think is worth pausing over is actually definitions. You just learned I'm part of the integrative medicine department, but terms like integrative, alternative, complementary are being thrown around almost interchangeably. And I think this is a very important delineation, especially when we're going to talk about the use of herbs and supplements and where to get advice about those, right? So integrative medicine, we understand ourselves as a supportive care service. We're aiming mainly our efforts at symptom management with non-pharmacologic options and lifestyle medicine. And so our approaches are meant to be complementary, to used alongside conventional gold standard care. Our advice is based on best available evidence, and we're prioritizing safety in our advice. Now, when it comes to alternative medicine, much of what is out there, you will find it's touted as being curative. And it's touted as being to be used instead of conventional care. And often these claims are really not substantiated by robust research and thus potentially risky. So actually there is a definition of integrative oncology, which says that integrative oncology is a patient-centered, evidence-informed field of cancer care, that utilizes different lifestyle modifications from different traditions for conventional alongside conventional cancer treatments. And integrative oncology also aims to optimize health, quality of life, and clinical outcomes across the cancer care continuum, and to empower people to prevent cancer and become active participants before, during, and after and beyond cancer treatment. And actually, the Society for Integrative Oncology, which coined this definition, is a really good resource for all aspects of complementary or integrative medicine, and also for information about herbs and supplements. So let's look at how these are actually used. So this is from an NIH survey that was done in 2015, where we learned about the use of complementary medicine in adults in the US. And it seems like natural products, herbs and supplements, are by far the leading kind of complementary medicine that is being used. And that number is probably higher in the cancer community. So one of the concerning aspects about that is that many patients are using complementary medicine, especially when it comes to herbs and supplements, but don't disclose it to their physicians. And that there are many intuitive reasons for why that happens. There's fear of being dismissed, lack of support through the providers, a perceived lack of knowledge, and of course that leads to unsupervised use of these modalities with the risk that is involved. Again, this is some observational data that tells us about, why there is a lack of communication and thus a lack of guidance about the use of complementary and natural medicine. And, healthcare providers, unfortunately, never ask. Patients don't know that they have to disclose it. There's not enough time in the office visit. So there are many, many reasons for that. And that's, of course, unfortunate. What we're seeing is that there's lots of robust data of patients that opt for alternative medicine in lieu of conventional medicine, they do worse. And so that is something that we want to just bring to the attention of all our patients, that this is an important topic to get good guidance on. So what happens during an integrative oncology consultation? So we discuss lifestyle factors such as diet and nutrition, physical exercise, stress management, sleep quality. And then we also discuss non-pharmacologic traditional symptom management approaches, including mind-body therapy, right, which includes mindfulness meditation, meditative movement practices like Tai Chi, yoga, and acupuncture. And of course, a big part of our practice is to be an evidence-based channel about the use of supplements and alternative medicine. So that's just for you to understand sort of the context in which we're advising patients on the use of herbs and supplements. So supplement use of phytotherapy, this refers mainly to botanical agents or herbs. We have a way to evaluate, to think about the supplement use in any setting for any patient that I always like to share with patients, because it empowers you to evaluate how much sense it would make to add something into your regimen. So if you were to take, or let me start this way. One of the questions we want to ask, one of the first questions we want to ask, is there robust evidence of this supplement being beneficial for your particular problem, right? Or for your particular situation. And if we were to take all the supplements and sort of group them and sort them by their level of supportive evidence, we would get to more or less to a pyramid formation, where just the tip of the pyramid would be category A, supplements that are deemed safe and beneficial based on the available data. A small sliver of the pyramid below that would be category B, so supplements we know are safe, but we're not sure what benefits they have, right? That's fine to take, but we're not quite sure how beneficial they are. And then the vast majority, the whole base of the pyramid, is really category C, supplements where we just don't have robust data on. So they could be, unsafe or lack of benefit. We just don't have enough information. And of course, there are some that we're concerned about, quality concerns and drug interactions. We're going to go into that a little bit more. There's certainly also natural products that we're concerned about toxicities or, adverse effects. So I think one of the most important things to mention is that for us, supplement use or the use of natural products is really not different than the use of conventional medications, right? So for many patients, there's sort of a chasm, a divide between I'm either choosing something natural or I'm getting something prescribed. And that divide is something artificial. That's actually not how I think about it, right? Many botanicals actually can attach to the same receptors as conventional medications. They can also have adverse effects and toxicities. And, and so there's really a continuum rather than a divide. And one way to highlight that is that many of the chemotherapy agents we're using actually go back to botanical agents, right? Many of the very common chemotherapy agents like irinotecan or the taxanes, they go back to botanical agents where they were isolated from initially. And on the other hand, right, we always think about chemotherapy agents as something that is really, cooked up by big pharma and is very unnatural. And this really shows that that's not the case. On the other hand, we always perceive natural products as something that's benign, that's harmless, that's safe. And that is also not the case, right? We know that some of the most potent toxins and, carcinogens are found in natural products, such as aflatoxin that contaminates oats, or nuts, or orchiroxin that contaminates oats, for example. So this is just to show that there's a continuum between pharmaceuticals and natural medicines. So the other question we have to ask is, how do natural products interact with prescription medications? And there are many, many different ways in which they can do that. For example, some herbs or many medications, many herbs, many things we're exposed to, including foods, get metabolized in the liver by an enzyme system that is called CYP450. And that enzyme system can be disturbed by herbs or other things we're drinking, for example, grapefruit juice, and thus it can create an enzymatic interaction. And it doesn't combine, many herbs don't combine well with some prescription medications. There's some herbs that have estrogenic properties, right? Many of the herbs that are marketed for the use for menopausal symptoms, for example, contain herbs that have estrogenic properties, which in some cases is not a good idea to incorporate and to include. And then our final concern is, of course, how can we ensure quality of these products that we're recommending, right? And this is, there's a lot of inconsistency, and we get reports every year about contamination and adulteration of products. Labeling is a problem. So this is basically the threse questions we want to ask. What is the evidence? What is the potential for interactions? And how can we ensure quality? Right. So these are the three questions that I want you to really take away. We're going to look over some hints of how you can learn about a natural product. But I think it's also important to know that, we often think about the pharmaceutical industry as this sort of very strange, shady business. There's a lot of, by many patients, there's sometimes hesitancy about taking pharmaceutical agents because of the perceived the perception of the pharmaceutical industry. But in reality, the supplement industry is also a multi-billion-dollar industry, and they can claim a lot of different things on their labels that do not need to be proven in any shape or form. So you might find supplements that have on their bottle, this supports ovarian health. Now, what does that actually mean? Nobody knows that. Nobody knows that. They don't have to prove it. They don't have to define it, right? So it's very problematic, very problematic. So let's look at some supplement labels, and I will leave, we'll have plenty of time for questions, because I know that there might be more specific questions that are difficult to really pack into a short presentation. But let's look at a supplement label. This is for an herb called curcumin, which many of you will know as a spice, turmeric, that is found in our curries and many other foods. The famous spice that is characterized by its yellow-orange color. And turmeric contains many different active compounds, many different curcuminoids. The most famous one is curcumin, that has probably the most data behind it. Now, there are lots of different curcumin products on the market. Let's look at the supplement facts for one of them. So we're seeing that about 2 teaspoons are a serving size. And when we're looking at the supplement label, we see here the breakdown of macronutrients, and then we see the interesting stuff. And we're seeing this is a liposomal curcumin proprietary blend. So what does that mean? So liposomal curcumin, what they're trying to tell us is that the curcumin has been prepared in a way that might be better absorbed, right? But they say a proprietary blend. Whenever you see proprietary blend, it's something mysterious. So they don't disclose everything that's in there, right? And we don't really end up knowing what's in there. But we're seeing here that 2,000 milligram accounts for oleic acid, fine. And then there's curcumin in there, 500 milligram. Now, for me, there's a lot of information missing. What do you think? What kind of information is missing? What would you want to know?
What that preparation process is.
I'd want to know how much I'd want to know how much turmeric and what's good in turmeric is in there too.
Exactly. So we want to know what herb is really in there. We want to have the botanical names, right? For curcumin, that might be less relevant, but for things like echinacea, there are many different types of echinacea, right? Some of you that are, I know that there are people that are very, very competent in farming and growing herbs. You know that there's a lot of difference in these different, botanical categories. We want to know that this is from the root of Curcuma longa, right? And we want to know how it was extracted. We want to know that this is a standardized extract, because there's specific chemical components in this that we think is beneficial, right? Some of the most famous benefits of curcumin is that it has anti-inflammatory properties, but it only has these properties if we're taking a good quality product. Then we want to look at the dose. Is this a relevant dose, right? So many of the studies that promote curcumin for the use of, for example, inflammatory joint pains, you really have to take about 1 to 2 grams or more to achieve better absorption and an adequate serum level to make a difference. So, and we also know that curcumin is not really well absorbed. And the fact that this says liposomal, that makes us suspect, oh, maybe they did something to the curcumin to make it better absorbed, but we don't, again, they don't really disclose what happened there. That's a little bit of a black box. Let's look at this one in contrast. So we're here as well, we are having sort of a proprietary organic curcumin complex. However, we're learning what's in there. There's organic turmeric root. They're saying the botanical name. Again, that's maybe less relevant for curcumin, but it's very relevant for other herbs. It's a curcumin extract that is standardized to contain 95% of curcuminoids, which is fairly standard, and that's an absolutely adequate labeling. We also get root, the whole root, which contains other curcuminoids, which might be of benefit. We also learn what else is in there. We learn that there's ginger as well, labeled correctly, botanical name and part of the plant. And we're also learning that that black pepper is added. But many of you may know that this is something that enhances absorption of curcumin. This is, again, adequately labeled, botanical name, part of the plant, standardized extract. We also see that this is a very reasonable dose for systemic use of curcumin. And so this is an example of how I would want it to be labeled. This is a label that instills some confidence in me. And then I would want to turn the bottle around and see, is there any other certification on there? For example, a CGMP certification that is an independent testing of the supplement, or an attestation that the supplement brand is following certain quality standards, right? So, and this is something that they sort of volunteer to do. They don't have to do that, and that's why we have many, poor supplements on the market. Let's look at another supplement here, and this is medicinal mushrooms are very fashionable right now, so I thought I'll look at the supplement fact with medicinal mushrooms. So we're seeing here again, we're seeing a sort of lineup of different mushrooms you might have heard of. I bet you've heard reishi, shiitake. There are some other very fashionable herbs or mushrooms. And then again, we have a proprietary blend. We have no idea how much of each of these mushrooms is in there, what part of the mushroom is used, and how it was extracted, whether it's standardized for the active ingredient or not, right? So here we at least know mycelium was used of cordyceps. The fruiting body was used of reishi. But again, we don't know how it was extracted, and we don't know if it's standardized. So this is an example of a supplement that doesn't instill a lot of confidence in me. It's probably fine to take, right? I don't, it's probably low risk in taking, with the exception, with the caveat that, of course, a supplement that is not, properly labeled, they may also not have as much of a competence in ensuring purity of the supplement. But it already doesn't really instill a lot of confidence when we are using, for example, turkey tail extract. We're using, 2 grams a day, right? This is nothing, and it's again not adequately labeled. For example, this is an example of an adequately labeled one. So we're seeing it's organic turkey tail extract, which is standardized for one of the active ingredients, which are beta-glucans. This is an appropriate proportion. Again, they're giving us the botanical name to ensure us that this is what was used, and they're telling us that this is a fruiting body extract. Now, when it comes to turkey tail, there are also extraction methods that we want to learn, and that might not be on the supplement fact, that might be on other, you might have to dig deeper to see how it was extracted, whether it was a hot water extract, which is the more standardized method of extracting it, or not. So this is just, I hope this doesn't confuse. This gives you a little bit more confidence at looking at the labels, looking at what exactly is in there, and did they take the time to give you exactly what's in there in terms of botanical name, part of the plant or mushroom, whether it's standardized or not, and is this an adequate dose? So I think these are some of the questions that you want to ask when you're looking at the label. And then you also want to look, is this brand adhering, or is the supplement adhering to independent testing, or some outside quality assurance. And so this might be a lot of information, but I want to just give you, another resource where you can learn a lot of reliable information about herbs. So we have a website that is called About Herbs, and it's also a free app. It's a free website. It's a free app. You can go on there. Many natural products are listed there, and they're listed there with the quoting primary literature, basically. So you can learn about the research that was done about these. And that's a really good place to start. There's also the NIH has a data bank, the NCCIM data bank that also teaches you a lot about natural products and where to start investigating them, the benefit for you or such. So let me pause here. I think I got to my allotted time. I hope I didn't go over.
You still have 3 minutes left.
Oh, good. Okay. So yeah, since I have 3 minutes left, I hope that this is really you take away from it is that I think it's important to get good guidance on the use of natural products, that they can be obtained everywhere. You can go to Whole Foods and buy a whole drawer full of supplements, and many of them have the potential of being like medications, right? They can attach to the same receptors, they can cause side effects, they can interact with medications, they can be of good quality, they can be of bad quality, but it's really like I really see them as medications, as pharmaceutical agents, and it's good to have resources to look them up if you're wanting to learn more about the use of natural products, and it's good to be empowered to look at supplements and supplement labels and have an idea of what the quality is really of them. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to your questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Naor. That presentation was really fascinating and interesting and very educational, informative. And I'm sure we have all learned so much from Doctor. And if anyone has questions, you can write down in the chat. We'll save a little time for Q&A after the next presentation. But first, now we're going to learn more about the benefits of growing your own herb gardens. And we're very excited to have part of the team from La Finca del Sur Bronx Farm here. So we're going to pass the microphone. Welcome to Nancy and Stacy.
Hi, yes, good morning, and thank you. I'm overwhelmed by that presentation, and Dr. Latte-Naor, you give me hope that integrative medical practices will become more accessible in communities like the South Bronx, where La Finca del Sur is located. My name again is Nancy Ortiz-Surun. I'm a farmer and co-founder and coordinator at La Finca del Sur. We're in our 13th season, and we were the Bronx's first woman of color founded, along with our allies, urban farm in the Bronx. And we've always seen La Finca as a place of not only growing food, it's an area of the city that has a great need for fresh, local, organic, and healthful food, and the space to produce it. So we're also about education. We're also about health, and this has always been our focus, how to bring all these pieces together. I myself am a firm believer in complementary medical care. We've used herbs and different foods from as far back as I can remember. And Rachel, can you please show the slide of my heritage photo? I sent a photo of my mother. Yeah, there she is. And this is a childhood photo taken in Puerto Rico. And thank you for showing that. And it was a joyful place to grow up in some senses, but also they were very rural. And, for people in, our countries and, basically all over the world. In the US, it's true too. This type of approach to health and medicine was the only resource for some people. And doctors were not nearby, they were not affordable. And people, shared this information and this ancestral knowledge to stay well. And as Dr. Latte-Naor pointed out, a lot of, our conventional medicine has its roots in, herbalism and all that. My concern in doing the work at La Finca del Sur is when we talk about herbal practices, when we talk about, health-giving supplements, that we do it in an informed way, because, it has to go together. You have to understand. I think the beauty of being an urban farmer or gardener and someone who has a practice, right, of maintaining health partially through herbs is that we get to witness and we get to be part of the cultivation of all those different components that the doctor so eloquently talked about. When you look at herbalistic practices, people will say, oh, well, this plant is good for that. But really, what is most effective? Is it the leaves? Is it the roots? Is it the whole flower? How do you process it? So these are things that you get to witness and learn about firsthand, being at an urban farm or garden. And then having all this ancestral knowledge, how does it translate here? What sort of information do people exchange? I think COVID was a very telling episode for us in the farming community, because farms and gardens being open were one of the safe spaces for health reasons, for psychological well-being. You could actually have some community at a distance and not feel, so threatened or nervous about it. So, I think, the access to a space like an urban garden or farm is so vitally important in all components of health. But as I said before, when we talk about plants and plant uses and how do they develop, I mean, this is something that you can do in, a generational way at a community garden. People come from all over your neighborhood, from other parts of the city. La Finca has been visited by people, from different parts of the world who come and share their knowledge. Learning about what plants translate well, right? How we can find out uses of plants that are native to the Northeast right here, that are similar to the plants that we've used in our culture, but always, with that, idea that we know what these uses are, but this information has to be passed on in a very informed way. And I think a lot of the sharing that we do is, I think about the generations of my family in Puerto Rico and in other places that my family is associated with, of conversations like this, of sharing like this that took place, 100 or 200 years ago, and how we developed this knowledge and this sense of how to take care of ourselves. So, I think that urban farms and gardens are a tremendous resource for people who are looking to restore or maintain health, for so many reasons, and, because it's psychologically a very important place to be. You can breathe, you can move. We've had things like meditation and movement, belly dance, and I'm speaking particularly to women here about things that have been transformed to other ideologies, but really are about the wellness of our own bodies. When we think about the topic of today of gynecological cancers and that whole, movement and focus of energy and power, right? That belly dance involves. So that's something that I learned along the way, and we've had at La Finca. And, we hope to continue this journey of learning, and as we have our membership grows and people come with different traditions, different knowledges, right? To be able to acknowledge, to exchange that, to bring it to that level where we know we're doing this in a safe way. We have soil testing and other things that kind of facilitate, right, our confidence in the safety of our products. And while added value products are not a huge market for us yet, we do have a hive. So we're producing local honey. We have like I said, the soil testing in partnership with the botanical gardens and other institutions that can help us to ensure the quality of our soil and our growing practices and environment. So it's a lot of teaching. It's a big cycle of teaching that I think is one of the most valuable things. We are holding on to things that are part of all our cultures. We're exchanging them. We're transferring them to these lands, right, to indigenous ancestral lands in the Northeast, and learning through opportunities like this of these wonderful programs, these complementary programs that are taking place in major hospitals, right, that our community members are clients of. So I just feel very very, very honored again, to be part of something that contributes to women's health and wellness, and also to destigmatize a little bit sometimes what can happen when we talk about women's cancers. I feel that it sometimes becomes difficult. I know through conversations I've had with friends and family. So to have these resources, to have our knowledge of plants and their uses, this is all this huge umbrella, right, that is really protecting and ensuring how people manage their health. So I don't know if I have time, but
one of the things that I would like to bring to the attention of women especially is that before industrialization, we were the ones who were harvesting. We were the ones who were constantly moving, harvesting, cooking, jarring. And now in this world of modern convenience, that part of us has been separated from the earth. In other words, it's one of the healthiest things you can do to get out and about, put your hands in the soil, even planting at home. Just the action is something that is moving you away from the industrialized, and your body is performing an act that humans performed for millions and millions of years. And somehow our society has broken away from that. And it has a lot to do, it contributes sometimes to pent-up emotion, to stress, to the hustle bustle, because if you're even planting as you will today, it's a meditative moment. You have to stop, you have to pay attention to what you're doing, and it's something that you're going to nurture, which is one of the attributes of women naturally, our nurturing spirit. So what happens with learning about herbs, learning about the natural substances of the natural fruit of the earth, you're actually taking the position that we've always had as women in most world cultures. So congratulations for RSVPing. You made the right move. The other thing is the doctor had spoken about these processes that some supplements go through to be manufactured. Again, industrialization, which isn't always bad, but that aspect of it where you don't know how something was processed, just the joy of planting something yourself, knowing it was grown in good soil, knowing that you're getting the real McCoy and not anything added to it, and you're even doing part of the processing yourself. That should bring you joy, and that should bring confidence to how you prepare your food and what you're eating, and you'll find that you'll become more and more curious and knowledge seeking as you begin to do this. So again, congratulations for our SVP.
Yeah. And Stacy, I just want to build a little bit on what you just said, that, joy of planting, the thing we talk about constantly when we are at La Finca, even though we are living in a more virtual, right, capsule right now, the ability to do that in person at places like La Finca del Sur is invaluable. But just this shared experience, just sharing these words and these thoughts, the fact that we're going to do this little planting exercise together is a connection. There's like this filament, right? That's connecting this entire audience today. So look at the power of, how this process, right? And getting back to ourselves can work.
Yes. Okay, this is an example of a communal project. This bench was painted by some young ladies, and they had their male counterparts join them, but it was all in support of women. So that's our bench. Greetings from us and welcome to La Finca del Sur. You can next slide. Okay, this is myself and Nancy. We are checking on herbs and greens at the farm. The bed we're at actually has kale in it, but these are herbs that are grown at La Finca on the left side, left and center. Next slide.
Yeah, that's yarrow, I think.
This is cilantro. In our growing herbs, you can do it. I believe that's cilantro, correct, Nancy?
Or is it? Yeah, it looks like cilantro. Yes.
Okay, next slide. Lemon balm. Anybody here ever have lemon balm? Mother Nature is so amazing. These are our fellow farmers, Sharon and Frida, and they're weeding the lemon balm bed. Next slide. This is yarrow at La Finca, and you can create a recipe for fever reducing tea. And you want to go back, please? If anybody here has a pen and wants to take down that recipe for yarrow tea, you can. It's pretty simple. 1 part elderflower, 1 part peppermint leaf, 1 part yarrow flower and leaf. And you want to pour boiling water on it and let it steep for about 30 minutes in a quart jar, because it's going to make much more than a cup. So then you can strain the leaves out and drink as you need. Okay, our next slide. Alan and his daughter Hannah are our resident beekeepers, and that slat that you see is full of honey. Bees produce a wax over top of their honey deposits, and that's how they naturally keep the honey for us. Next slide. There's a jar of golden, beautiful La Finca del Sur honey. Notice it's not dark, dark, dark. It's, pure. The honey produced within 10 miles of your home is best for strengthening your immune system. And that's more than likely because this is your geographical area. Everything in it, breathe in, you walk through. So it's their home too. So it's like they're our kin. Next slide. Okay, now we have some yarrow on the left, and we have mint, peppermint, sage, lavender, lemon balm, and basil. Those are the herbs that have been distributed in your kit. And now we're going to tell you about each herb. So we'd like to go to the next slide. Chamomile. Excuse me, I named the first picture yarrow. It's actually chamomile. Chamomile reduces menstrual pain. It's used in the treatment of diabetes, slows osteoporosis, and it also helps with sleep and relaxation and contains antioxidant properties. Now, in regard to the doctor's discussion, one of the things that was mentioned was people being intimidated to discuss these things with the doctor. And basically, if something works for you, then you should have that discussion. If chamomile makes you feel relaxed, then you should tell them and not be fearful. The next slide, please. Mint, rich in phosphorus, calcium, vitamin C, and soothing to your tummy. Again, we know for a fact that mint has these qualities. For you, in regard to taking medication, along with using any herb, have the discussion, and be observant of yourself and your own reactions. Next slide. Helps your digestive system, it's soothing to your tummy. Here's an interesting little thing. Interestingly, mint is useful. The smell is wonderful to us humans, but rodents hate it. So that's an arrangement nature made. Next slide. Lemon balm. Oh my goodness, this is one of my favorite. And once you grow it, it sort of takes care of itself. All you have to do is water it. It will just go crazy. It's beautiful. It's soothing. It's a combination of a minty, lemony taste. Yes, when you bite a leaf, you taste lemon along with the mint. And all the mints we have mentioned can be used for tea, and even a leaf of mint in a bottled water bottle will produce a mint flavor, one leaf. It relieves cramps as well as stress, anxiety, and cold sores. And you should use it in moderation if you have a thyroid condition. Again, have the conversation with your doctor. Next slide. Basil. I'm sure everybody likes tasty basil. It supports a healthy gut, helps with blood sugar control and healthy cholesterol because it has fiber. Make some pesto. It's so excellent in many foods. And by the way, you can eat basil seeds too. The seeds and leaves provide healthy fiber. And we have a recipe to share with you. Yeah, someone's asking about information being emailed. Yes, we can.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to go to the next slide. And this is a La Finca recipe. Mama Christina's pesto sauce from La Finca.
Yeah.
So if you want to take a minute and jot it, or we can send it to you.
Right. Well, will it be included in the slides? I think that the conference, I believe Rachel said, or
Yes,
we can.
so we can we
Yes.
can send, if you'd like, we can send a copy of this slideshow when we distribute the post-event survey, and we'll also be distributing the video when it's edited. So we can certainly include the slides with the recipes.
Okay, so basically very simple ingredients that you all can obtain or have. Olive oil, basil leaves, parsley leaves, cloves, nuts. A lot of people use pine nuts, but they can be substituted with almonds or walnuts, pepper, salt, cheese, grated cheese, and water. And the next slide has the directions. This one.
Yeah, I'll mention that we actually created this recipe. We made this recipe at La Finca for the Bronx Chamber of Commerce. They did a tour and we had participants from the community and it was a big hit. You can adjust this, as Stacy said. You may want to reduce the cheese a little bit. It doesn't really affect it too much. And you can also use other herbs instead of the parsley. Basil is kind of the given here, but you can adjust this to your dietary needs. It's a really delicious pesto, though.
That's the last slide, Stacy.
There should be a second slide with the instructions for making this.
I don't.
There it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. It wasn't a separate slide. It was down on the same slide. Okay.
Oh, okay. So there's the basic ingredients. You're going to put everything in the blender, save your basil leaves to last. There's no cooking involved. How good is that, ladies? Just blend it up and you can serve it with pasta or on bread or sliced tomatoes and mozzarella. And if you have a bitter taste, it has to do with the harvesting of the basil. You can just add a pinch of sugar or La Finca honey.
Right, or stevia. Yeah.
And you're all set.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we should move on now to, I believe we're on our way to our planting.
Or is it Q&A time?
Okay, I
You have
saw
3
you.
minutes left. So you have 3 more minutes before the Q&A.
Okay.
Okay, do we have any do we want to discuss any planting vessels now, or do you want to wait till we're actually doing it?
Well, are we going to use the pots, Stacy, for the planting?
Yes, I'm asking if she wants to show the slides in regard to planting now in these few minutes before the question and answer, or do you want to wait till we actually plant?
You know what? We have a lot of questions already given to us. So many are in the chat and have been directed message. So
okay,
I think we can just jump right into that. There's just so many for the three of you.
Okay.
If you guys continue to have more questions, please just write them in the chat. So I'm going to start off. There's one for Dr. Naor. So thoughts about, someone asked, what's your thoughts about black human oil?
For what, right? As a dietary ingredient, great, right? Now, there are sometimes, claims attached to this having anti-cancer effects. Now, that is something that I would approach with a lot of caution. What is an anti-cancer effect? Right? Cancer is not one disease. Cancer are many, many different diseases. They all behave differently. They have different trajectories. They respond different to treatment. So when I see something that is called anti-cancer effect, it doesn't tell me anything. And usually, like in the case of black cumin oil, most of the evidence supporting these anti-cancer effects are preliminary studies, meaning they took a cancer cell culture, placed them in a laboratory, and put that on the cell culture, and they observed the cells to die. Now, the preliminary research is of limited value, and it's not always translatable into clinical use. For example, if we put Coca-Cola on a cancer cell culture, it might also have the same effect, right? So it's a very big divide between something that has been proven to be in the laboratory valuable to something that is actually has an impact on outcomes in the body. Now, black cumin oil has a lot of medicinal properties. It's a very traditional herbal extract, right? And herbal application that has many nutrients, nutrient dense, polyphenols, and so on. So it's a healthy ingredient in your diet, but does it have these anti-cancer properties? I don't think we have evidence for that. Black cumin oil can readily interact with medication, so it affects the CYP system. It's because of that lack of robust evidence we hardly ever recommend it as a medicinal supplement. But again, in your diet, great ingredient.
Someone asked, how does one determine which supplements are appropriate for one's particular case?
So if you want to use supplements therapeutically, you should have a provider that advises you to do that. Again, for me, there is really no divide between a prescription medication to a natural product, especially if you're taking it at higher doses that would be effective. Now, I really like the intuitive approach of looking, like Stacy, for example, described lemon balm, right? There are so many different herbs that are in our cupboard as teas that can grow in our yard, that have soothing properties, that have digestion stimulating properties. So this intuitive household approach of herbs, I think that's something you can experiment with, right? I would also call that sort of culinary use. Right? If I'm drinking a cup of lemon balm, which by the way is also one of my favorites, is I think that's this is something that you can experiment with. However, if you want to take a purified standardized extract at a high dose for a specific indication, I would recommend having it reviewed by a pharmacist for no contraindications and no interactions, and disclosing it to your physician, and maybe seeking help from an integrative provider.
How does one find an integrative medicine doctor, especially if they're not living in the city?
Yeah, I think this is a major challenge for our field. We're trying to put out a lot of educational resources to train providers, to have more people out there really providing competent directions for patients and how to use these potentially really beneficial compounds. However, it's true, there's not a lot of access. And some of the access that is there, right? So for example, going into a pharmacist or a supplement store, or even some functional or integrative medicine providers, they will sell you supplements. So that is an example of where not to get supplements. I recommend not going to a provider that will in some shape or form, directly or indirectly, benefit from you purchasing the supplements. Mm-hmm. Right? There's a conflict of interest there. There's just hard to overcome for me. Other than that, start with your physician, start asking them, is there anybody in the community that they can refer to? Other than that, some of the big centers like Memorial Sloan Kettering, like, Weill Cornell has an integrative medicine center. Some of the big centers, you can do telemedicine appointments often. So yeah, I would probably start there.
What you said led to two other questions that were already received. Does someone need to be a Memorial Sloan Kettering patient to see you or go to the center? And are there any websites that you would recommend where someone could buy supplements that are a safe resource?
Good question. No, you don't have to be a Memorial Sloan Kettering patient to see integrative medicine provider or benefit from acupuncture, massage therapy, or mind body therapy at Memorial Sloan Kettering. Websites that are reliable, difficult to say, right? There were some publications about contaminated or adulterated supplements via Amazon. So that is something that our pharmacist sort of recommends against. But for example, iHerb or, iHerb is one that our pharmacist often recommends. I think it's difficult to really recommend supplement resources because it doesn't really tell you. They carry all kinds of supplements. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. But iHerb has not been associated with any kind of adulterated supplements or fake supplements.
Nancy and Stacy, we have a bunch of questions for you also, and I'm going to go back to you, Shelly. We're just sort of like in and out of the way the questions came in. But what tools would someone need for a home garden or a small garden outside?
Actually, one of the things we do not use New York soil in terms of what is already there. So first of all, where you live, you need to have either have somebody test your soil if you don't want to go through that, you need to build a bed, and there's cloth you can buy at Home Depot, at garden stores, that you put inside the space that you're going to plant and put your purchased soil, organic soil, on top of it in your bed, so that there's no mixing between the soil that exists and the organic soil that you're purchasing. And even the plants, their roots, that fabric. That's the first safety tip. The best thing you could do if you have yard space, that's a gift in New York. So I would have it tested, and there are websites too on New York soil where you can find out what was there before you lived there, so that you have an idea of what you're looking for in terms of any contaminants. But at La Finca, we do not use the actual ground. We purchase organic soil, and that's very important because if the soil's been contaminated with lead or with something else, you don't want to be feeding your plants that. So that's the first level. Once you get through that, knowing what you're growing in, and you can purchase soil from a lot of different companies, organic companies. Once you do that, you need very little. You need water, sunlight, and one or two tools, garden shears, and perhaps a spade. And there you go. You're on your way. And of course, you need seeds. There are a lot of good seed companies. There's Native American seed companies online that sell organic seeds. Burpee is actually pretty good. Nancy, can you name another? It's a good seed company. You're muted. You're muted.
Yeah, I've actually got a couple of our favorites here. So High Mowing is a really good company. They're available in a lot of garden stores, and they are organic. So I would recommend getting organic seeds whenever you can. You know, there are different varieties like these from Renee's garden are really good. They're heirloom, but they're not organics. So these are garlic chives. I think in a good soil, they'll probably be okay. And then I'm just going to do a plug for True Love Seeds. True Love Seeds.
You're muted again.
Yeah, True Love is a company started by a gardening associate that we had in New York, and they're actually like seed saver products, and they all have a story, and they're really beautiful. They're not that much more expensive than conventional seeds, but like Stacy mentioned with Burpee and the other more conventional brands, they have organic lines now. Almost all of them do, and that's what I would recommend. And I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on what Stacy said about.
Oh, your mute keeps coming on.
For any New York City garden, any garden within the 5 boroughs, you know, just so that people know if you go out and join your community garden, whatever, the practice is not to plant within ground anywhere else. Why? New York City, the 5 boroughs are heavily industrialized, okay? A lot of times were buildings prior to the garden that may have had lead piping, lead paint. So we're assuming that all of it is contaminated. You know, when you go upstate, there are not these restrictions, but you can still do container gardening. You can still do raised beds.
Nancy, I'm going to interrupt you because we have so many questions for you.
Yeah.
People are wondering if they're on a restricted budget, what's the best, like the best bang for your buck type of thing? And for the spring is coming up, what would you recommend for gardening in this time of year?
Oh, this is a good one because all of you can almost garden free. What do you do when you buy a garlic head? You may use some of it and the rest sits there and dries. Guess what? Every clove is a seed. So your kitchen scraps, a bag of goods, potting soil or organic seedling soil, your kitchen scraps. Just think about it. All the things that you eat that have seeds in them. Even onions, you buy onions sometimes and you can see the roots on the bottom. Guess what? Stick it in some water and let it grow. So in terms of cost, there's a lot of ways that you can grow right in your kitchen and at practically no cost.
Right. And another suggestion, I'm sorry.
No, go
another
ahead.
suggestion is to partner with the many gardening organizations that there are in New York. The New York Botanical Garden in the Bronx, the Brooklyn Botanic Garden, Grow NYC. A lot of times these folks will give you soil. They will give you seeds. There are seed giveaways and seedling giveaways all year. And you get that added bonus of that community, right? As you're engaging in planting and learning. So that's another, it's something I recommend to everyone. Just being part of a community garden. Okay, you'll have access to
and people want to visit you. So could you tell them the hours and location? I was asked a few times.
Okay,
Well,
we're presently, yeah, go ahead.
At 138th and a Grand Concourse. Just before the Manhattan Bridge. And right now, our weekly hours are 11 to 4, Tuesday through Friday. Now, we must inform you that the MTA is doing some work on our property, but you can visit. Nancy, you want to elaborate on that in any way?
Yeah, we have, it looks very much like a construction site. We are right over the IRT 4 and 5 trains, 2 and 5 trains. So they're doing duct work and that's right in the middle of our farm. But we are still open for business. As Stacy said, you can also come Saturdays. Saturdays are, our biggest volunteer day. Once after May, we will have a more stable timetable because as a Green Thumb Garden, we have 20 public hours a week. Some of them are by appointment. So I know some people are asking about that. And, our website, our email is going to be listed on a resource list that we generated. So you're free to contact and put attention to Stacy or myself when you do.
Yeah, our space is very large. So, like MTA being there from the outside, might look like, might be a little intimidating, but once you're inside the gate, you'll still, we're almost 3 acres. So we still have plenty of room for people to safely visit us.
And Dr. Latte-Naor, this is a question from her to you guys. How do you protect your plants from New York City rodents?
Every way possible, creatively.
Yeah, very creatively. Mint is one way. We plant mint all around the farm because they just don't like it. Another way is to consciously look for things that are deterrents. Most of the members of the farm have garden beds, and we really, since there's aisles in between and we have a lot of traffic, we really don't see it in abundance. Like every once in a while, there may be evidence of something. We don't necessarily know if it's a rat, but what they look for, jokingly, people have told me New York City rats like pizza and fried chicken. They do not like organic food. So,
I'm going to switch back over to Dr. Latte-Naor.
go
I
ahead.
have a bunch of questions for her. Someone just asked, I just saw, they said they have, if you could recommend, or no, I know you're not going to recommend, but I think this is a common issue for our group, is that they're experiencing hot flashes from surgical menopause and chemo. Is there anything that you could suggest?
Yeah. So first of all, I think this is a really, really good topic to discuss with the oncologist and surgeon. Many times patients are eligible for hormone treatment. And there is a statement by the ACOG and by
We're frozen.
cancer societies that some patients are eligible. So I think that's worth discussing. That's the first thing. Now, what about non-pharmacologic approaches? If hot flashes are severe, the first thing that you want to look at is some behavioral factors, like, for example, changing to textiles that are more cooling. Right, there's a lot of textiles that allow you to purchase pajamas and bedding that allow you to cool yourself. There are pads that you can place on the mattress that keep the mattress cool. Right, our normal modern bedding, especially things like Tempur-Pedic and nice things like that, they trap heat overnight, and they really can trigger hot flashes, especially at night. So having some kind of a pad that cools everything and holds it at a steady temperature, for some patients it makes a difference. There are different devices that you can wear or wear at your wrist that can have a cooling effect. For some patients, it makes a difference. And you want to look out for triggers, right? So some materials, patients that if they wear certain materials, they will have more frequent, more severe hot flashes. If they do certain activities or eat certain foods, spicy foods, lots of caffeine, alcohol, they will have more severe and more frequent hot flashes. So these are some of the behavioral things sort of to diminish the effect of those hot flashes. Then other non-pharmacologic approaches may contain things like acupuncture. Acupuncture has some evidence of diminishing severity and frequency of hot flashes, and it's non-pharmacologic. The other thing that is also endorsed by the North American Menopause Society are mind-body techniques. So mindfulness meditation and hypnotherapy actually seem to diminish the severity of hot flashes. And this is something we do, and I do with patients quite a lot. Again, because there's many patients describe the effect of stress on hot flash severity. And there seems to be a really strong correlation between a stressful experience and more severe hot flashes. And having stress management relaxation practices that are symptom directed seem to be, based on several robust studies, beneficial. Beyond that, there are some non-pharmacologic supplements that you can discuss with your gynecologist or oncologist, like Ralazine. Ralazine is a commercial product that can be purchased over the counter. It's based on bee pollen extract. It doesn't have estrogenic effects, and it is something that helps some patients. Patients have to take it for weeks and weeks until they see a benefit, but it is something that can, for some patients, help. And then there are prescription medications, right? So there are certain medications that have been shown to be helpful for a proportion of patients regarding hot flashes and sleep quality. So if you really can't sleep with severe hot flashes, I like to discuss things like low-dose gabapentin, which is a phenomenal sleeping aid. It's a prescription medications, and don't be intimidated by the adverse effects. It has to be treated with caution and by an experienced physician, but it can help with hot flash severity and sleep quality. So I think that's sort of a quick run through the different things that could be helpful.
And what do you think about broccoli and broccoli sprouts and broccoli sprout powder?
In general, I prefer, all these different powders. Again, we don't really know what's in there. Often they're not quality assessed. You don't really end up knowing what's in there. I prefer you eat the broccoli or the broccoli sprouts as they are. So the substance of interest in there, of course, there are many substances of interest in broccoli, but one that receives a lot of attention is sulforaphane, which is a substance that has been used in preclinical studies to show an effect primarily, I think, on bladder cancer. It's probably one of the most robust targets, and a little bit of prostate cancer data as well. Again, it's something that you can get from your food. You don't need it as a powder. Just eat, cruciferous vegetables abundantly. Cut up your broccoli and let it stand a little bit. Let it stand for half an hour so that the sulforaphane can really be available, and then cook it, right? And so these are ways in which you can maximize the sulforaphane in your healthy foods.
Dr. Naor, one of the things that I do at the farm and at home, I don't know if this is helpful, but cucumbers sliced up in a pitcher of water or a bottle of water, for some reason, it has such an additional cooling effect, and it really tastes good. So I don't know if that will help anyone, but that, and you can add fruit to it if you want, but it's just water. But the cucumber has so much water in it already, and then you put it in the water and it flavors it, and it just has a very nice cooling effect. If that's helpful, I don't know.
That's wonderful. Yeah, in many traditional medicines, like Ayurvedic medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, certain foods are suspected to highlight certain attributes, and cucumber is unanimously described as cooling, as having cooling effects on the system.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sounds delicious.
Two people asked if you can speak about the benefits of sage.
Yeah, so sage has traditionally used as an agent that can diminish sweating. In order to do that, you would have to do at least 3 concentrated cups of good quality sage in infusion, right? Now, with taking a lot of sage and inserting it into your diet, there are 2 things to know. One, it can interact with medications if you're using enough, right? If you're using really concentrated infusions. Number 2, there's some suspicions around possible estrogenic effects. It's sort of a low risk, and I don't think having a cup of sage tea is going to be harmful, but it may also not effectively address sweating, right? For sweating, you need the relevant dose. It would be 3 strong infusions. They don't taste good. They're very bitter. Strong infusions of tea. You can sweeten them with honey, and let them steep for at least 10 minutes, and then drink it up at least 3 times a day to diminish sweating. There's not a lot of robust data around it, but that's the traditional use.
Yeah. I just want to say that I've had good experience, and it's sort of a traditional thing, stemming from indigenous roots of our culture. But, I think many people report the same, of using it as an aromatherapy sort of thing. When you do the smudging, when, just burning small amounts of it in your space really produces a feeling of calm and well-being. So that's, something that I think is important as a complementary technique. But I agree with the doctor that I am very cautious about ingesting it. I do use it in cooking more than, a tea, but, also in very controlled doses.
Someone wrote that a friend was told to take OM mushroom blend before her treatment. And wondering if you could speak a little bit about that. The person did write a note that they were an MSK patient. If you could share maybe what the benefits might be of that.
There are many different OM mushroom blends. OM is just a company that sells different types of mushroom blends. It does have, I think, a turkey tail mushroom product, and it possibly has more mushroom blends. So I don't know. You would have to ask the provider who recommended it. But mushrooms, many don't interact. And again, mushroom blends usually contain very small amounts of individual mushrooms. Mushrooms overall, the beta glucans in them are thought to be immune stimulating. So they stimulate a non-specific immune response. That's that much I can probably say.
So I know we went a little bit over with the questions and answers. There was just a lot. but maybe we can move on if Nancy and Stacy, you want to lead us in the gardening activity. Nancy, you're muted.
Yeah,
You all-
Stacy. Yeah.
Yes,
So
I'm here.
turn this over to Stacy because yeah, I didn't receive the kit per se. I can add a little more about planting, but she's got the actual kit. So
Okay, we can go to the slides on the different types of planting that people can do. And then we'll do this actual planting.
You mean the slide, the one that Nancy sent me, the picture?
No, there's a slide that lists the different ways that you do this.
During the slideshow, in your slideshow?
Yes. It starts with bottled water. We're using a clay pot today, but just so you know, it's not like you have to buy something that you don't have. You can use water bottles, cardboard egg cartons, clear plastic takeout food containers, newspaper pots, and we'll tell you how to make those. And just as long as you have light, whatever you plant today, let it have an abundance of light, natural light. And if you don't have natural light, good natural light, you can put a lamp, an LED lamp, or just put the plant near light during the day, okay? So we have some images if you want to go ahead and run through them. There's the water bottle. You cut your water bottle in half. The part with the neck, you put your soil in and your seed, and then you sit that in the bottom half. It has those little bumpy things that keep it level on the table. Put water in there, and with the string in the neck, the string will bring the water up to the plant. So the next one, I believe, is the egg carton. Very simple. Because that substance is absorbent, when you water your seeds, water your seedlings, the cardboard is going to stay wet for a while and help the soil stay moist. I think we have one more. Oh, these are fun. This is something you can do with grandkids, with a group of ladies. You take any vessel, a can, a cup, and you fold your newspaper and wet it so it fits that shape, whatever shape you want, and then you let it sit and dry. It's like instant paper mache kind of, without the mess. And fill those newspaper planters with soil, plant your seed, and the same thing. The thickness of the newspaper will absorb some water. And when your plant starts to grow, you can actually stick that in the ground if you want, outdoors, and the newspaper is just going to naturally a part of the soil. It will deteriorate in a way that is just a natural compost sort of thing, because it's paper. I think we have, oh yeah, here's a picture of the food container. And this person made little pods. They look like they're purchased. They don't look like newspaper, but they put them directly in. You could also just put the soil in the plastic and spread out your seeds and watch them grow. If your windowsill is cool, you see here they have one of those ice cream sticks propping open the container. You can make a little greenhouse. Just shut it, and it'll make its own moisture.
right.
So
Stacey?
you just have to keep an eye.
Yeah, Stacy, I'm just going to jump in and say, when you do that greenhouse effect, make sure that you can prick a couple of holes on the top.
Yeah,
For your plant to bake, and you know the moisture will just circulate back into the plants, but it'll release and allow a small amount of air in that they need.
Yeah. And I think there's one more slide. paint terracotta pots. You can put that in Google and that video will come up. And we put the link there too. But if you just spell that out, that's a fun activity to get together with your girls and say, okay, who's going to do the best pot, you know? And just, you can speak by designing your pot with something you have to say about your experience, about what's happening right now, or just have a fun design. And this last slide I put for you guys, these are cards that I found a long time ago, and I hope it makes you smile. Have fun and enjoy the aromas and taste of your herbs in your veggies. We are peas in the same pod. We're going to enjoy growing. So thank you for listening to our presentation. Thank you, Dr. Naor. Thank you, everyone, and let's get planting.
Again, we apologize that we are running a few minutes over, but this is a quick activity. So if you wouldn't mind, ladies, guiding our group for those who have your kits to do them, we'll do them together now. And then for anyone who didn't, I've gotten quite a few messages about some people who did not receive kits. If you registered and provided your address, you were mailed a kit. So please give it a few days. If you don't receive it by the end of the week, please just email us and we will figure out what's going on. And if you have not, then I know Jillian's been in touch and we will get those people who didn't register, you will get one after the fact. But Stacy and Nancy, we will let you guide us in planting our little pots right now.
Okay, so you have a little pod inside of your pot. Does everybody have water?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you want to pour water in there. And a little at a time.
Stacy, how much water should we pour in?
A little at a time, just a little at a time. Because you want it to expand. And you should have something under the spot that catch the excess water. Okay, is everybody's pod saturated? Mine's not expanding like I expected it to. It should begin to expand. Now, what you want to do, your seed packet, you want to wait till your pod expands some. If that means pouring more water on, do so. Okay. Because once you put your seeds on, you don't want to pour any more water in because it's going to move your seeds around. So, who has a pod, and is it getting a little fatter or is it getting saturated? Yours isn't saturated. I know mine hasn't expanded. Oh, it's starting to expand, but it's taking a while.
Mine is very slowly. I've had to add water a couple times to it.
Yeah. So, all right. Obviously, these are going to expand slowly. So here's my recommendation. How much time do we have left? Anybody know how much time we have left for our session?
It was called for 11:30, so but take as much as you need.
Okay, here's my recommendation to everyone, because the pod is going to take a couple times to expand. I recommend that you go ahead and put your seeds in. Don't put any more water in. And I would say to get plastic wrap, some kind of wrap, even a Ziploc bag, and cover it for a while. Wait till later, like this evening, and put more water on. Because Nancy, I don't see it expanding fast enough. It's starting to. Anybody else starting to do that?
Yeah, I don't have the kit with me, Stacy, but I
No,
would just
no, I'm just asking for your any recommendation, but I see mine starting to expand.
Mhm.
And now that the pot is wet, the seeds are going to stick to it. When you add more water, please don't pour it directly on the seeds.
Right.
Pour it in the side.
Mhm.
So the water goes down around the pod, not on top, because it'll just push your seeds out of the way if you pour it directly on.
Right.
So
How
here,
often should we water this after we,
I
put the
think
seeds in?
that you should,
Every other
you should
day,
not,
perhaps?
you should not let it dry out. Like tonight, you should put some more water in and just keep doing that because it's going to get fatter and fatter and fatter. It's going to start to come up to buzz. It's just, its timing is not fast.
So is it okay if, I'm actually gonna wait to put my seeds in and let the dirt expand, and then at the end of the process?
You
I
could
cover
do
it with
that.
And then cover with plastic and then water it every day? Would that be a good
I'm
plan?
only saying to put the plastic on to keep it from drying out. You
Okay.
should give it some air. If you have a Ziploc bag, you should punch some little holes in it
Okay.
to when you put the plastic over. And it doesn't have to be a gigantic piece of plastic, but it definitely needs air. So don't just leave it in the bag. Put it on to keep it moist for a while. And let's say before you go to bed, take the bag off. And then in the morning, check it, see if it's expanding. Mine's starting here.
Yeah, mine is too.
Mine's starting to get fat now.
Yep, looks good now.
Yeah.
Getting bigger.
But if you put seeds in, do not pour the water directly on seeds or they're going to get shoved all around. Just pour it down the side of your pot.
Yeah.
And just keep doing that.
Yeah, Stacy, somebody just reported that their pot is leaking, so you can slide a little saucer, a plastic lid.
Actually, that's not leaking. That's drainage.
Coming out of the
It's supposed to be there. So I used a lid, a jar lid under mine. You can use a saucer from your dish set in your cabinet. You can use a butter top like Nancy just showed, a plastic container top. There you go. That's good too, because you can, Robin, you can see your water. She's got a clear plastic. So anything you can sit it on. But yes, it's starting to expand slowly. So keep adding water slowly till it begins to totally fill up the pot. And it eventually will.
And I just wanted to mention again, I'm getting quite a bit of questions, or quite a few questions direct messaged about, yeah. And so again, if you did not receive your kit and you pre-registered, please give it a couple of days just because of mail issues. If you still have not received it by the end of the week, please email the main woman-to-woman address and we will investigate and either send you a new one or give tracking information. And some people are asking, yes, everybody only got one seed packet and the seed packets are different. We purposely sent out an assortment, so there are all different ones. A few people were also asking about questions, follow-up questions. We know we had so many questions. We apologize that we did not get to everybody's questions today. We did our best, but if you have pressing questions, you can either email them straight to us at the main woman-to-woman email, and we will try and help get them answered. And I know that in the La Finca del Sur information, they include their direct contact information, so you can reach out to them directly. Again, we apologize for those of you who did not get your questions answered, but Jillian did a great job navigating and trying to get more general questions answered.
We needed a 3-hour conference.
We needed a 3-day conference. I think people could have asked all three of you questions, but maybe again, just in the interest of time, maybe we'll let Robin do the wrap up now, and then we'll kind of officially end. And if people want to just stay on and, just sort of schmooze and chat for a few minutes, we'll do that. But we know it's starting to be a sunnier day today and people have things to do. We don't want to keep you too long.
Okay.
Yes. It's interesting that the sun came out, because I can tell you in doing the 20 reunions and over the 10 years, because we've had them twice a year, that the sun has always come out on reunion day. We have always had good weather. And I just want to thank everybody for coming. These reunions mean so much to us. And thank you so much for being part of the Woman to Woman family and supporting these events. And we look forward to doing them in person one day. And I love that little Mila there. How cute is she? Our own little gardener. And thank you so much. And just a reminder for anybody that is sent a pot in the mail to put something plastic underneath it. Okay.
Yeah.
We don't want it leaking on anybody's computer or cell phone or anything like that. So that's our disclaimer. Okay. Thank you again so much, everybody.
Huge thanks to our speakers.
One more thing. Thank you to Sandra and to Jillian and to Rachel. So much for all the work that you put into this.
Yeah,
Nancy, do you want to put the email in the chat, because there's people who didn't get a chance to plant. There's people asking about their type of plant, and we can answer those questions, but you need to give them the email.
Yeah, I just need a moment because I'm on very limited technology. Rachel, is there any way to show the email briefly? I know we're over time, but it's on the resource sheet. Is it possible?
You can show the resource sheet. Yep, hang on one second. And then we will. So here is the resource sheet for those of you, and this will be sent out to everybody. This was compiled by Nancy and team. And if you see down in the middle right there under community resources, there is the email address. And you have to reach both Nancy and Stacy.
So if anyone is having trouble seeing, it's info La Finca BX all together at gmail.com.
Okay.
And this will be circulated. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. It was an absolute pleasure to have you all here. Huge thanks goes out to our wonderful speakers, to Shelly, to Stacy, to Nancy. We know you gave up a big chunk of your Saturdays, and thank you all for being part of our Woman to Woman community. Jillian and I are available on the main email address where you get all of your reminders. Just reply to that. We're happy to answer any follow-up questions. I love seeing that people are showing us. Amanda, we see your pot there. It looks good.
Is it supposed to look like that?
Well, we look forward to your also send us pictures as your plants grow. So we would love to see those.
Yeah, I mean,
is it supposed to look like that? I'm not sure.
Yes, mine's dripping a little bit. My saucer. It's doing good. You just need more water, but take your time. Take your time adding the water.
Okay. So how is it supposed to expand? Because I'm not sure.
It'll expand on its own.
I don't have a green thumb at all.
No, it'll expand on its own. Don't worry.
Patience, Amanda. It expands.
Patience.
Give it patience. Yeah.
Yeah. See, mine's starting to get fatter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine's definitely puffing up. So I just added a little bit of water at a time. So thank you everybody so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Everybody.
Send us pictures of your plants, reach out with your questions, and we appreciate you all and are so grateful that you're all part of our community. So thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye from Connecticut.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye from Brooklyn.